Okay, cool. Well, welcome to the Demasked podcast. I'm very excited that you invited me out and
Yeah,
or talk to
great,
me.
great to have you and great to be on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell your story, how you got started in the industry and who you are and all that.
Boy, okay, so my name is Alan Hops, and I am a haunted house guy. I've been doing haunted houses now, let's since 86, 1986. So that's when I started haunting. I was 10 years old and worked for a haunt that was near my grandmother's house. I just walked to it and uh, just fell in love with it. And I knew like that first night, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So every job that I've had has been, in the summertime, I would work for an electrician so I could learn that in order to use it in the haunt. I would work for a carpenter so I could learn that and then use it in the haunt. So everything that I did was kind of worked a leather store for a while so I could learn leather costuming. Um, just my life has kind of been until I got to year round haunting. I was 18. I moved from Baltimore, Maryland area, Harford County. I moved to Orlando
Okay.
and worked at Terror on Church Street. And then I worked for Skull Kingdom, which was a year round haunt there. And from Skull Kingdom, I would take off in October, actually. I would take my vacation. It was a year round job. So you had vacation.
Right.
So I just took it in early October and I would go work at other haunts so I could, keep learning and keep growing. That got me to Texas one time where I met my wife, and I said, I think I'll stay in Texas. So, um, worked at a couple haunts out here, managed a couple parks, and then ended up being the director here at Dark Hour. And then the opportunity came up last year, year before last, and we're to buy it. So we did.
Oh, cool. That's amazing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
such like a crazy background, like so many years in the haunted house industry.
Been a long road, but I was very fortunate because as I grew up, like the internet grew up,
Okay.
so like
Yeah.
I was there when YouTube started. I'm like, well, let's do haunt stuff on YouTube. So,
Right.
now that's pretty common, but my channel's almost 15 years old, or it is 15 years old.
Oh,
Like that's
wow.
that's a long
Yeah.
time for a
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
And so I've watched your YouTube channel since I got into haunting. And so, yeah, it's always very educational.
Well, the whole point of it in the beginning was to make a library of techniques. If a haunted house wanted to do something,
Uh-huh.
they would be able to look up the video and be able to do it.
Right. And even the small haunt I started at, they used your videos to train actors and stuff like that, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and that was in like mid 90s. I started doing actor training videos.
Hmm.
And we were at a time, not that it's much different now, but we were at a time where if you came out with a product in the haunted house world, someone else came out with it the next year. There's three people
Hmm.
selling it or four people. And I was really hoping that others would pick up and start selling actor training DVDs
Okay.
because I kind of wanted to prime that pump. No one did.
Oh,
Just
wow.
everybody just kept using mine. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. How did you like originally like get into like video and stuff like that? You just like seen YouTube starting and it's like I want to do that or
Well, it was just that what I am the most passionate about technically only happened once a year.
right.
So how do you fill that other time? I think every hobby, and I say hobby because for most people, haunting is a hobby. Every hobby should have two components. One is one that you can do on your own. It has to have something you can do on your own, and then it has to have a social aspect to it.
Right.
And for a long time, haunting was missing that social aspect throughout most of the year.
Hmm.
You only got to socialize with other haunters, at haunt season.
Right.
And then maybe you could work on a costume or something, but you were kind of doing that in a bubble, you know. And this allowed me to have that social aspect of haunting, which is one of the favorite parts for almost everybody, all year long, and
Yeah.
meet new people who were doing haunt stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that was kind of the ideal behind this podcast when I started is I wanted a forum for uh hunters to be able to talk to each other and maybe have a discussion forum, of people who, oh, I'm like working on this costume or whatever and have people talk about their experiences, like yourself.
And this is a
You
way
know,
to extend haunt season.
yeah,
You know, how many nights of haunting did you get in? Well, I wasn't scaring people, but I got to have a lot of nights talking about haunted houses, and that's a big part of it.
yeah, it is. It is. I find myself talking about haunt all the time, even at my day job when I probably shouldn't. And then I have people looking at me all like, "What's wrong with you?"
Sometimes it makes you a little weird, yes.
Yeah, but I think you people who choose to do haunt, even on the actor side, they're weird. They choose haunt for a reason.
Or I honestly feel like haunting chose me. Like
Yeah.
I feel this sounds a little weird, but haunting is like a calling for me.
Okay.
It's not a job or a career path that I chose. It's like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be at first I was supposed to be the guy in the costume. I was supposed to be the scary guy.
Right.
Now I kind of feel like it's my job to get other people into that so they
Right.
can enjoy it and they can kind of break free of their shells a little bit. You know, the confidence boost that people get from haunt acting is massive.
Right.
And I see so many people turn around, you know, mentally, confidence wise through haunting. It's now that has become the worthy endeavor as opposed to just being the guy in the suit scaring people, which I still do.
Right.
You know, almost every night we're open, I dress up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. And that's pretty awesome. There's a lot of owners who end up doing customer care or whatever instead of actually being
My
in
customer care
costume.
is giving them what they paid for.
Right.
That's
Right.
my version of customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You tell these Karens how it is, huh?
I just they paid me to scare them, so I'm going to scare them.
Yeah.
And it is not uncommon for me to have my casting director Teddy,
Uh,
who you should talk to.
okay.
He's been around the block. Um, to have him just schedule me in the show, schedule
Okay.
me in a room,
Okay.
and then I'll
Yeah.
just work that room all night.
That's
You know,
amazing.
and often I'll come up with, well, while I was in there, you know, I ran this little route, and I think if we got our guys running this route, they could hit more people or be more efficient, or
Right.
you know, this area sucks, so let's not make anybody work there. Let's you know, instead change their focus over here.
Right. And it gives you a different outlook for like the actors and stuff. Like you have like better pointer for them because
Well, and
you're
I
doing
think
it, you know?
if we give them an assignment, they understand that we've looked at it
Uh-huh.
and it is, you know, we share their perspective and we want them to be as successful as possible.
Okay.
And I think them seeing me just go in the show, I think that helps too.
Right. Yeah. Because they see like, oh, you're the owner and you're
I'm
willing to
not
do what the actors say,
I'm not asking them to do anything that I wouldn't do.
Right. Right. And I guess that's the difference between like a leader and like a boss, a leader gets in there and does things, you know what I'm saying? So at
Yeah.
least to me,
Now, I'll say though that every owner has struggles that the actors don't quite see
right.
or understand.
Yeah.
And it's part of their job as a boss or a leader to defend the actors from that garbage.
Right.
You know, there's just
right.
a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about haunting, like an actor who is just starting, they haunt from 4 feet away. And what I mean by that is they get 4 feet away from a customer and they engage them and they scare them and maybe they have eye contact with that person, but they're barely aware of the other people in the group.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
man, I scared the heck out of the group. You actually only scared one person.
Right.
That's who you scared. You scared one person. If it's a group of 10, you have a 10% success rate.
Right.
You know, but then getting them to back up and haunt from about 20 feet where now they're hearing when the group is coming because they're being aware of audio cues
Uh-huh.
and they're scaring the group in front of them and they're trying to hit all of them at one point or another. And then they're hearing for that group coming next. They know how much time they can spend with that group. And then you just back up and up. And then you've got zone leaders and managers and actor trainers who are haunting from 100 feet.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they know what 5 actors are doing. And they
Yep.
should be aware of how many groups are roughly in
Right.
that space and who's on break and who isn't.
Yeah, I'll say at my home Haunt Hellscream, I've been in like they call it runner there, which is an area supervisor. And and that's usually like 10 actors I watch over a whole area. I get it because it's like, you got to be on it, you know. And I always to people that like, especially people who come new to the haunt industry, I always try to be like 360 scare, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just like get that one person, get the person behind them, and then get the person behind you, and then just try to roll with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just gather momentum. Go from hit to hit to hit, and almost all of our actors have a little route that they run.
Right,
Almost all of them,
right,
where it might not be through multiple rooms, but even in the space that they're in, here's your first hit, here's your second hit, here's your third, and then I try to give every actor like 10 to 15 options of places to scare people.
okay,
I would like for them to give me 3 or 5 hits.
yeah,
So they don't have to use every one every time.
right,
And there's one spot, this is necessary. This is your assigned spot. You never miss a group in this spot.
right,
And that way, they have some personal freedom, but I know that all my spots are covered and the show's going to be good.
right. Yeah, and the show's what people pay for. You know,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I did a tour before we started this, and I noticed your haunt's like Swiss cheese. You know, you got pop outs everywhere, and
Yeah,
like
it's a playground.
yeah,
And, sometimes you're on the side with the swings and you go to the other side, you use the side with the slide.
yeah,
Um, but I like the actors having options,
uh-huh,
and I'm kind of pro chaos.
okay,
So if you're nailing a group really good, follow them for a room or two.
yeah,
That's fine. And then the actors we call it haunt IQ.
okay,
They have a pretty high haunt IQ. Oh, he's from that room. So, and he's in my room. I'm
hmm,
just going to back up and get whoever's coming in that room,
right.
you know? So
Yeah,
it works out.
that's what it's about, is like giving them the freedom to do different stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that especially people who are like new to it, it's a big confident boost for them to maybe, you know, scare a group for a room or two, because it's like they're just still getting used to it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and also it's easier to scare them that second time because you know them a little better. If they
Right.
just come into your room and you have a second to scan them and then you got to hit them, well, you saw who reacted. And then also it's a better show because you know who you hit
Right.
and you know in that group who you didn't hit. So if I want to get, penetration of 50% scared
Mm-hmm.
and I scared on my first impact, I'm going to aim for a different part of the group. And if you're haunting from that 20 feet, you scare those two, you saw reactions.
Right.
Who is ready to get scared?
Right.
And then who looks like they haven't been scared yet at all?
Right.
Maybe you take some time and hammer on them.
Right. And the people who's ready to like,
Oh, yeah,
fight or flight,
just safety awareness, absolutely.
something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think being able to read people, comes into play as a haunted house actor, just because it's like, if you know how to read people, you know what, you know if they're going to do this or not, and so, oh, I should keep my distance from that
Well,
person.
and you look for them if they have fists and loose arms or
Yeah,
fists and rigid arms.
right,
You can get away with different things with different folks depending on how they're set up. Are they jabbing at everything?
right.
That's just stuff you watch out for.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. One of my things is, like I said, I'm like an area supervisor at my home haunt, and one of the things I do, I see people start to do this, like customers, and I'll be like, "Put your hands in your pockets, else I'll cut them off." And most of the time, they're like, "All right, I don't want to lose my hands."
Yeah.
Put it in their pockets. It's great, and it's a great way to not make them feel bad or embarrass them or anything, because it's just like they think it's a part of the show if you tell them to put their hands in their pockets, but really it's like a safety
Yeah, it's hard to punch
precaution.
someone with your hand in your pocket.
Yeah. So yeah, this is awesome. How long do you work here at Dark Hour?
So Dark Hour opened in 2013. They had technically I am the third artistic director,
Okay.
but they went through both of those before they opened. So I actually got it open. I was the opening artistic director in 2013.
Oh wow.
So I've been there since then. This is 2024, so this is 11 years.
That's crazy.
So I started in that June or July.
Okay. Yeah, and so you came on as what does like an artistic director
I did
do?
not come on as the artistic director.
Okay.
I was working for a company who did haunt consultation,
Okay.
and when they got rid of their first artistic director, Dark Hour reached out to this company and said, we need to retheme because all the ideas, everything was this person's work,
Mhm.
and we can't use that anymore.
Right.
So our team was asked to, we had, a series of meetings and came out with their story and all that stuff. And in just in doing that, the company that I was working for, the consultation company, got the job of building out parts of the haunt.
Mhm.
And I was originally doing, it's not there anymore, but I designed a 3D area that we had.
Okay.
So it was a Voodoo Bayou type themed
Okay.
area that was
Yeah.
all UV. And that's what I was doing. And then just slowly, that new artistic director just wasn't showing up enough, just
Mhm.
wasn't doing enough. So there's all these questions and no one had answers. And my stuff was kind of just plugging along, and I was, wrapping up what I was working on. And they said, you are now the director. Like, okay. And at that time, the consultation company actually dissolved right around that same time.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow. So it just kind of fell into your lap basically.
yeah, I was pretty much I was unemployed for like half an hour as that company said, "Hey, we just bought a haunt in Florida, so we're moving to Florida, and we're not going to
Mhm.
bring anybody with us." And I wouldn't have gone anyway because I'm married and I like it here.
Right.
Um, so I knew I was going to stay. And okay, and then it was Dark Hour wants to hire you as director. So I was unemployed for like 30 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's cool. What is like so as like owner and stuff like that, what are some of the like struggles you have, like especially during the off season that you deal with like
Oh, it's, I hate to say this, but it's money.
yeah,
If you think that some haunt owners are all about the money,
yeah,
they kind of have to be.
right,
Because, and I hate that a lot of my time is spent now behind that desk getting
right,
stuff done. I mean, that's why this room is full of toys. It's full of, monster books, that whole shelf behind you. The back behind my desk is painted like Castle Grayskull because, that's something that brings me joy.
right,
Um, but in a roundabout way, my job now is worrying about money.
right,
I'm going to open in October and I'm going to make a pile of money.
right,
And then every week I have payroll.
right. Get smaller
And
and
that
smaller.
pile of money just shrinks down.
Right,
And then we are skin and bones worried
right,
by the time we get to September and start selling tickets.
right,
Um, it's, if a haunt has $1 million in the bank
right.
in November,
It's
I would be like, "Ooh, that's tight. That's really tight."
yeah,
Because it comes up. It's like, okay, happy November. Now you have to pay sales tax on all of the tickets that you sold.
right,
That's $120,000,
right,
and then your million is 900,
right.
and then you have to set up your insurance for that next year. Like
Yeah,
all of it comes around, and that November to January,
yeah,
you hit January. It's a new year
right.
and you are
Starting again.
ready to struggle through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm sure that's super stressful, you know. I think that anyone that is, you know, even an owner or operator of a haunt, they never do it for the money. It's because they love haunt. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, y-
I'm not even making a pile of money.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's the business has to make a pile of money in order to open again next
Right.
year.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it's just not going to open.
Right. And you can't be a business.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it is. It's get them to pay so you can play.
Right.
Is how it works.
Yeah. But I mean, that's most, that's every business, right? I mean,
it
that's,
is.
restaurants are the
It
same
is,
way.
and you get to that fundamental level where this business is just like any other.
Yeah.
The difference is most haunts have 10 to 20 nights to make money
Right.
for the year.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
We probably lost between $200,000 and $300,000 this October
Yeah.
because Texas Rangers made playoffs and
Oh,
then we're in the World Series.
Shoot.
So all those games are on October nights.
Oh, wow.
And do you want to go to a friend's house or stay home for free and watch a playoff game or watch a World Series game with
Right.
your local team that you just jumped on the bandwagon for?
Right.
You know, a lot of people opted for that.
Right.
So our heavier nights were like Wednesday and Sunday when there wasn't a game.
Right. Right.
Saturday, crickets.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It happened to us once before, and they didn't win. But yeah,
That's crazy.
I hope all those players were good enough to get traded. That's
Right.
what I hope.
Every year, like, man, I hope the team sucks this year.
I want the Rangers to suck.
Yeah.
I do. Because if they're excellent, then it really hurts business.
Right. Yeah. And that, I mean, like, that makes sense because people love their sports, So that affects. So weather really affects us out in Colorado,
Oh,
That's
sure.
the weekend before Halloween, like the weather was really, really bad. We had a blizzard. I think it was the first blizzard, or not the first blizzard, but we had a blizzard that weekend, And yeah, the weather effects. And sometimes, some years it's great. Some years, the weather's great all season long and you're good. And then sometimes, like, you lose a couple nights because it's a blizzard outside and nobody wants to come to a haunt in the blizzard,
Yeah. So Texas shuts down if it snows,
Right.
like at all. It just
Yeah.
shuts down. And that's because we don't have any infrastructure to support it.
Right.
It's, you guys have plows, you have salt
Right.
trucks or sand
Yeah.
trucks or whatever. And we don't have any of that
Right.
because
Yeah.
we only get snow and ice like 3 days a year.
Yeah.
So it's much cheaper for the state to just, okay, we're going to shut down for a few days
Right.
and, and ride it out. A few years back, we had we were at 0 or below 0 for like 10 days in a row.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
the electrical transformers froze
That's not good.
because what we have in our electrical transformers is meant to not dry out in the summertime
Oh, wow.
because we can have 100 days in a row over 100 degrees.
Right.
So the stuff, if you take the stuff in transformers in Massachusetts and put it in here, it'll dry out.
Right.
If you take our stuff up there, it's going to freeze.
Right.
So we're set for that was a 100-year event.
Right.
And it's like the rest of the world kind of freaked out. It's like, what do you mean you can't do that because it's snowing or whatever? It's
Yeah.
not that bad. It's just cold outside. We can't buy coats. Like, we don't
Right.
have coats in our
Right.
stores
Yeah.
because it doesn't get that cold. So we
Right.
can't buy a snow shovel.
Yeah. Because that's not here. You can't.
They're not going to send them to this market for the 3 days that it snows. you know?
Right. Yeah. You can't go get a window scraper here. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's snow tires. Never heard of them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, even out there, like I said, weather really affects because if it's like too bitter cold, people don't want to come out when it's like super cold. Granted, they have jackets, but it's also like,
Now, if it's raining here, it's not too bad.
oh yeah,
If it's raining like early all day, like in the afternoon,
yeah,
then people won't make plans to go out. But
right,
if it starts raining after you open, you'll be fine. Or we'll be fine because
right,
we have a paved parking lot
right,
and we're all indoors.
yeah,
So
which is
a lot of
amazing.
haunts in our market have, you're parking in a field and, they've got some indoor outdoor stuff. So
Yeah,
if they were going to go to a haunt,
be you guys.
they'll probably say, well, let's just go to dark hour instead where we will stay dry.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense. There's not a lot of places that have an indoor queue line.
Yeah.
I find, that's a cool thing to have, and I'm sure that helps you out with those rainy days and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and we can do a couple hundred people inside, but we still have, lines
Overflow.
outside.
Yeah.
But, we have enough room, if we need to. If it starts raining, we'll accommodate as many as we can inside. We'll change
Right.
things around and just get them in the door.
Right. That makes sense. And we'll do that in Colorado too. We'll change things around to like, oh, queue line's inside tonight, and push the haunt back a few rooms so we can have the
Yeah.
queue line inside. So I think it, being able to adapt with whatever's going on, that's out of your control. You know, what are some of your struggles on like your really busy nights? Would you say?
Oh, it's the same struggles as that every haunted house has.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy to scare, a family of 6. I would love it if some billionaire came to me and said, "Listen, I want you to scare my family this October.
Mm-hmm.
Here's $2 million, and just scare the heck out of us." I
Right.
would send them pictures at their kids at school. You know what I mean? Like you could do some stuff for that.
Right.
But making that same amount of money, and now you have to scare 45,000 people.
Right.
It gets harder.
Yeah.
And then the biggest issue is wear and tear on the actors,
Okay. Yeah.
and haunt seasons are always kind of structured the same. They ramp up and then they peak and then they drop off again.
Right.
Where that third weekend, the weekend right before Halloween, depending upon where it falls, sometimes Halloween weekend, if you do 10,000 people in the season, you're going to do 2,000 on that one Saturday night.
Yep.
So it's not even across all the nights that you're open.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part. And those busy times are at the end of the season. Haunt acting is kind of like a castle siege.
Right.
At the beginning of when the army comes up, like all the haunt actors are on the wall defending the haunt.
Right.
Right. And the first attack, half of them die.
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah.
you'll never make it.
Yeah.
And, at the end, there's, 45 haunt actors who are just
Beat to shit.
kicking butt and
Yeah.
holding it down,
Yeah.
And it's just the weak ones couldn't handle it. They fell away,
Yep.
and you have the toughest and the best left at the end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that too, as well. The people who, I think it comes down to, honestly, like just this is my personal opinion. It comes down to the people who want to do it. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference that, oh, I'm here because,
Or need to do it.
yeah, I'm here because my friend wanted me to do it, and I tried out and got selected because my friend drugged me here, versus someone that's like, yeah, I want to do it, so.
Well, we have some folks who it's, I want to come and work because my kid's going to work here.
Right.
Or I want to come and work because my girlfriend works here. Well, they
Right.
broke up. That guy's still coming.
Yeah.
Because
It gets in their blood.
Now they enjoy it.
Yeah.
And maybe even that person who drew them in is gone, but they're now part of the community.
Right. Yeah. I got drawn in because of high school. At the high school I went to had a billboard of like community stuff going on, and the rec district there had a sign that said, "Hey, we have a haunted house. Come talk to us if you want to be a part of it." And that's how I got. And I've been doing it ever since. That's how I got drawn in. So I get it. It gets like in your blood where you want to do it all the time, Because I had friends who I started it with, and they just did that one year, and then after that I kept going back.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like it. There's nothing that you can do that gives you that rush of power, that rush of control.
Right.
And, you feel like a lion chasing down antelope.
Right. Yeah.
Like maybe that shouldn't feel good, but that feels really good.
It's the best.
It's
the best.
These people are afraid of me, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the best. I always tell people who like I work with or don't know anything about haunted houses, I always say it's the most fun I legally can have.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And there's stuff you do in the haunt that you would get arrested for in the mall without doubt.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes you have to curb those instincts. Every now and then you turn a corner just right in a store and there's a person there.
Yeah.
You could get one heck of a scare off of that person.
Right.
But they'd call the cops.
Yeah. Like I would not want to go walk around the mall in my haunt costume because,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, you might get shot.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, in all honesty, if you're showing up
And,
all
there's
bloody and crazy.
because of that, because of what I've done for so long, I'm constantly like assessing my own mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like check yourself and make sure like, okay, why am I doing this? What is this? Is this fun? There was a point where it's like, maybe I have a problem because I enjoy chasing and scaring people so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm working next to this 16-year-old girl who did it for the first night, and she chases these people and comes back and like, that was awesome, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it's not me. It's this could be universal.
Yeah.
It's just something that I think some people need
Right.
or enjoy. If
Yeah.
you're meant to be a lion, then you're going to enjoy something that lets you feel like a lion.
Right.
And we don't have a world for lions out there anymore.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just, that's unacceptable.
Yeah. It's unacceptable to have that kind of fun in our society these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you probably shouldn't say that.
You can say whatever you want.
Probably shouldn't say that. Okay. Well, let's go 3 layers back here.
Okay.
This is still going to be, I probably shouldn't say this, but in the internet age,
Right.
there is very little responsibility for poor actions
Okay.
and for treating people well.
Right. I'd agree with that.
People are very flippant about typing to someone they've never met, "You should die in a fire."
Right. Yeah.
Like I've seen that typed several times.
Right.
Having a friend or two that has died in a fire,
Right.
that's never funny or appropriate.
Right.
And in the haunt, there is immediate karma for their actions.
Right.
And you get to witness that or create that.
Right. Yeah.
And you get to do some attitude adjusting, and it's lovely.
Yeah. My favorite thing to do, something that my haunt I'm known for, is taking the people who they think that they can be some type of way. You get the customers who being ridiculous, over the top, just being fools.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my favorite people to deal with, because I take what they're doing and I make it up here and they're still down here, and then their friends are laughing at them because it's like I'm all the way up here. You know what I'm saying?
And the people skills that you can gain, as far as when I started working outside, you learn pretty quick if there's a group of people who are like verbally attacking you.
Right.
You just pick on one of them.
Right.
And they all turn on their friend. They all turn on their buddy. Yeah. So it takes a little bit, but that's a skill that you can take with you in life.
Right.
Just that, even just the confidence from enduring those encounters, you take with you.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense to me as well. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things I've taken from haunt into my personal life. Just being able to do like improv and just like sit there and like be able to talk shit basically with people. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and just having something to talk about.
Yeah.
Haunting is interesting.
It is.
Whether they want to do it or not.
Yeah.
If you work at a haunt just one season, you'll have stories for a lifetime of parties.
It's true.
Just pay attention to what's happening around you.
It's true.
And there's this great, you see people when they're emotionally raw.
Right. Yeah.
And that's cool to see. Again, most of your world now is filtered through a keyboard and through a screen.
Right.
So being able to see people that you don't know and their actual emotions and how they react to stress and things, that's really cool. We're getting a little bit more of the people experience than most people do.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure you've seen it too. I've seen grown men have panic attacks in the haunt because they can't handle it. And big tough men, and they can't handle it.
Throw their girlfriend at you.
Yeah.
Throw their children at you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great time. Or they think they want to be tough and blow you a kiss, and then you react on that, and then they don't like that very much.
Yeah. I mean, and you being able to filter through what's happening and then coming up with options and how to deal with that situation makes you a little more mentally resilient. It has certainly helped me.
Right.
And everybody who comes through, another huge advantage that we have that most people don't know, like when you're making fun of, each other in like third grade,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, I didn't have a good comeback, but you think of a good one on the bus on the way home.
Right.
Well, there's going to be a customer coming who's going to do that same crap.
Right.
So whatever canned response you have, they think you're a comedic genius,
Right.
when really it's like, no, you're just not original, because I've dealt with you 400 times this season.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, for me at least, like I've always worked in kitchens and culinary, like in my professional like day job. And so between that and Haunt, like in the kitchen, like most places you talk like a sailor and you talk shit all day long. And so I was just like with Haunt and that, like I'm just like sharpening my skill for Haunt season. So I could be real
Yeah.
quick on it, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's part of the fun. I love seeing people's reactions to stuff like that. Sometimes it's not even scary. Like I think my job, like as an actor, is number one is like to scare you, but number two, if I can't scare you, I want some reaction. I want to make you laugh or get some reaction out of you because that means I did my job. You know what I'm saying? So if you're laughing or smiling, it means I did my job.
In the past 5 or 6 years, I've started to disagree with you.
Yeah.
And now I say, if you can't scare them,
Uh-huh.
try again.
Right.
And here's why. If I train my staff of, let's say, 60 actors,
Right.
if you can't scare someone, make them laugh.
Right.
I hear that so much.
Right.
Then the group that the person, let's say Shaquille O'Neal, goes through,
Right.
do you think you're going to scare Shaquille O'Neal?
No.
Right. So every actor looks at him and makes the choice to make him laugh.
Right.
Did he get the show I wanted him to see?
Probably not. No.
No, he got
Yeah.
a mess.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So now let's go into a little bit of story time.
Right.
When I worked at Terror on Church Street,
Okay.
Shaquille O'Neal worked for the Orlando Magic.
Right.
And him and some ladies who I assume were escorts, and Jason Kidd, who at the time played somewhere else, came through Terror on Church Street Haunted House.
Okay.
And I was dressed as a Wolfman. And people were like half-assing, attempting to scare
Right.
them.
Right.
I'm like, why?
Right.
And it was so weird, but he's 7 freaking feet tall. He's huge.
Right.
So I was a Wolfman that night, jump out, and I swipe at his legs, and I swipe at his groin, because that's about my shoulder height,
Right.
and then I'm reaching to swipe again, and he had jumped backwards, knocked down his whole group like dominoes.
Hilarious.
And then I see that he's down in like a crab position.
Right.
I'm over him, and I'm swiping and taking a step forward as I'm swiping. And he's crab crawling over the escorts, Jason Kidd, everybody,
Hilarious.
Yeah. And he just gets destroyed. Like, he did not look as good to those ladies based on that behavior.
Right.
And if I had just taken the choice of, I can't scare him, so I'll just, show up.
Yeah. So my theory on that is that I'm gonna try to scare you first, right? Like my thing is I like to go up to the biggest person in the group and I like try to scare him. And if I can't scare you, I'm gonna get some reaction out of you. You know what I'm saying? But scare first.
As a director of a show, I want them to see the scary show.
Yeah.
Whether they get scared or not.
Right.
Because they're going to appreciate it.
Right.
They're going to get what they paid for.
Right.
I wasn't scared, but they, at least they gave me a scary show.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather have them say that than have them say, well, they didn't scare me, and they didn't even try to scare me. They all acted weird.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to watch out for. And
right.
As a director, I'm crafting a show.
Right.
Your costume is set up for silhouette.
Right.
Where you're working is set up so that when you appear, you're framed for a second.
Right.
The set is set up to be favorable in flow for you to move less than them and get those hits.
Right.
And I would rather them see the show that they're supposed to see.
Right. Yeah.
rather than having half the cast decide, well, I'm just going to go funny on this one.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
That's why now I say if you can't scare them,
Just keep
just
trying.
try again.
Yeah.
Try again. Do the scary show whether they're scared or not.
Right. Just do your thing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing. So with actors and stuff like that, what is some of your biggest struggles with, haunted house actors and stuff like that?
So my biggest struggle is, I think, confidence
Uh-huh.
and the unwillingness of most people to stand out.
Uh-huh.
If I tell someone or ask someone, can you yell in the loudest voice that you can sustain for 10 seconds?
Right.
Can you do that for me? Just for this, I want you to yell about how dirty the dishes are for 10 seconds in the loudest voice that you can sustain. Don't hurt yourself.
Right.
And you get, oh yeah, they don't want to stand out. They're afraid to be different. They're afraid to get noticed, even positively.
Right.
And that takes some wearing down, but that's the struggle. It's
Okay.
always, what over the top is.
Right.
You're just choosing not to go over the top.
Right. And I feel like in this day and age, there's a lot of people who are discouraged from going over the top or trying to stand out. You know what I'm saying?
And it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah. It's
It's
fall in
getting
line.
worse.
Like if you don't follow this certain, belief or narrative, then you're gonna stand out and you're ostracized for it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I don't think that helps because it's like, well, they don't want to stand out because maybe someone's gonna see a photo of them doing haunts and it's gonna be construed the wrong way, and then social media is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe that has something to do with it. You know, people's they're afraid to get canceled. You know, in a
Um,
way, but
yeah,
yeah,
even on a micro level, absolutely.
you're right.
And I just think it's unfounded. I think that we're put on this world to stand out.
Right. Yeah.
There's our job is to make memories.
Right.
What do they get when they buy a ticket? They get the
Memories.
memory of
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
That's what they're walking away with.
Right.
So I've got, well, let's say, 60 actors in there. I'm asking you in the dark, in with, the crazy lights, with the loud soundtrack, with the distracting sets, make them remember you.
Right.
That's the real job.
Right.
If they are going through and they say, you're the guy who talked to the banana,
Yeah.
then you succeeded
Right.
because
Yeah.
you made them remember you.
Right. Yeah.
That's, for a little while I did ninjutsu. And I did
Ninjutsu.
ninjutsu in order to become a better haunter,
Oh. Okay.
because, and I was fascinated with the concept of ninja mind control.
Okay.
And that's just getting them to think something that you want them to think.
Right.
Whether that's, I want you to think that I'm a bush until I'm ready to scare you,
Yeah.
or, I want you to be focusing on that door so
Right.
that when, the monster jumps out of the bookshelf, you'll never notice it. That's
Right.
that's ninja mind control.
Yeah.
But I forget where I was going with that. But forcing them to remember you using tricks like silhouette, like framing,
Right.
like off speed movement
Uh huh.
to get them to remember you and lock them. I want them to leave the haunt, get to their house, and worry that, when they get into their room, if that closet door is cracked,
Right.
they should worry that you are in there.
Right.
Not a monster, you.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're unwilling to stand out,
Right.
then you're not going to be willing to make that leap enough
Right.
to be the monster in their closet.
That makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. I guess it is about kind of like now that you like explain it that way, it is kind of about doing something to stand out in people's mind. You know what I'm saying? And that
Yeah,
that makes a lot of
it's
sense.
they the guests come here to get scared,
Right.
maybe, or they're already scared and it's socially unacceptable.
That could be too.
But
Yeah.
they're scared of things like, am I going to make my mortgage?
Right.
Is my 12-year-old car going to break down and I don't have the money to fix it or get a new one?
Right.
They're scared of those things. That causes stress and anxiety.
Right.
And then there's no release for that because screaming and crying is unacceptable.
Right.
You
Yeah.
get mocked for it.
Right.
But if you come into a haunted house and someone can get into your brain enough to flip that latch and let that stress and pressure out.
Right.
What's the perfect haunt scare? How does it work? You scare them, they scream, they run 3 steps, and they laugh.
Right. So it's like a
That laugh
release.
is the pressure release.
Right.
An antelope never feels more alive than when it just got away from a lion. That's when it feels the best.
Right.
So haunts are a public service as much as they are a business.
Yeah, on both sides for customers and actors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're a symbiotic parasitic relationship. That's what we are.
Yeah.
We need customers to function.
Right. And it's unacceptable to scream at people about how you cut your mom's leg off, in regular society.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But between 7 and 1 a.m., perfectly fine to do it here.
Perfectly okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Be your weird self. And that's really what I personally enjoy about haunting is like I'm always in the presence of other haunters. I'm always allowed to be my full self, and I don't have to worry about getting pulled into an HR office or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I think. Okay, so thinking about it with what you just said, I think in the haunt, I'm trying to be more than myself.
Right.
I'm trying to expand.
Right.
If I'm stalking down the hallway at them, I am 5'10", 5'11". I want them to see me as a 7-foot-tall monster walking down that hallway.
Right.
I don't want them to feel like a man is yelling at them. I want them to feel like a lion is roaring at them.
Right.
I'm trying to be more. And I think what's happened is just over years and years of me doing that. Because for 7 years, 40 hours a week at year-round haunted houses, I was an actor.
Yeah. That's awesome.
40 hours a week. Punch the time card, go in and scare people. And not uncommon, my night off, I'm just going to come in and scare people, okay?
Yeah.
But every time I'm attacking people and pushing and charging and scaring, I'm loosening that shell, that wrapping. And do I come out a little bigger?
Right.
You know what I mean? Am I more confident and able to say what I'm thinking? Am I willing to be the one to yell in a quiet room?
Right.
Yeah, because that whole time I've been expanding myself.
Yeah.
So if in the haunt I expand myself to 9 foot, I might not go back down to 5'9" Alan. I might settle on someone who takes up a little more space.
Yeah, you might be 6 foot.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be more than myself.
Right.
In the haunt. I'm getting old and fat. Well, okay, I'm less fat than I was like a few months ago. Like I'm losing weight, but I'm getting older.
Right.
I'm not as fast as I was before. I don't move the same.
Right.
Lord knows I don't get up off the floor the same way.
Right.
But there's tricks that I have learned. And that's part of that being more than what you are, of making them think that I'm fast, making them think, that I'm right on their heels or whatever.
Right.
And it's a different game because I don't have the body to keep up with
right.
someone who's, in their 20s or 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have to up the intensity.
Right.
And I have to use better body language in order to get those same things across.
Right.
But that career of doing that has helped me do those things. And I can still keep up with them. Hallelujah.
Right. Yeah.
Eventually I'll design a cool wheelchair character, I guess.
There you go.
It's
call you Free Willy.
I've moved into some older characters, which is fun. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's cool. It's always fun to play with different ideals and characters and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
So,
if I'm a giraffe, I probably shouldn't try and play a baby duck in the haunted house. That's going to be tough to costume.
right. You should
You
play
know,
a giraffe with a cutthroat.
this is what I'm working with. So I'm going to base characters around this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Random, but I was just thinking I would hate to be a giraffe with a sore throat.
You're almost all sore throat.
Yeah, that's awful.
What about a snake with a sore throat? Or you get a vest for Christmas as a snake. Where do you wear it? Where does it go?
It's good. It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Random thoughts. So you also do props as well. Is that?
Yes, I make stuff.
Yes.
That was part of when I was 18, living in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have my dream job because my dream was to be a year-round haunt actor.
Right.
I planned poorly because that doesn't necessarily pay as much as I would like it to pay.
Right.
So to do something to supplement, I want to provide products or services to haunted attractions.
Right.
And that will allow me to make a living off of this thing that I really love doing.
Right.
And so I learned to make masks in '95,
Oh wow.
and I've been making latex masks since then. I've done costuming. I've,
Done it all.
make stilt costumes. I've done a lot. It's one of the great things about working year-round haunting,
Yeah.
or knowing that I'm going to be a tick on the dog that is the haunted house industry.
Yeah.
I can focus for 2 years on stilts and stilt costumes.
Right.
And if I feel like I've explored that or I'm getting a little burned out on it, I'm going to concentrate on haunted house acting and actor training.
Right.
I'm going to, spend time studying commedia dell'arte and how
Right.
does that apply to haunting. I'm going to
Okay.
take time studying improv acting theory
Right.
and do that for a while.
Right.
And then maybe I'll explore that and I'll go back to, I haven't made masks in a while. And
Right.
then I might start a mask company and do a mask line.
Right.
And there's just a joy in that
Right.
of being able to stay in the same industry and have 20 careers in that 36
Right.
years.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Some of the stuff
And
like
each skill builds on itself.
right. It's crazy to see like your workshop and all that stuff. Just really, really amazing to see like all the stuff that goes into making that kind of stuff work, you know?
And right now I've got 3 paths in front of me.
Yeah.
So the first path is Dark Hour Haunted House.
Right.
Do I take that path? Because each one of these paths require 40 hours a week time and focus,
Right.
if not more.
Right.
Do I take that path and just focus on Dark Hour?
Right.
Tempting, because now I've got this castle to defend.
Right.
I have all of my day crew that I take care of, and I have my actors that I take care of.
Right.
We have our own little community here.
Right.
Do I double down on Stiltbeast Studios? And my year-round work is making costumes and masks and things for haunts, and then getting into theme parks and making costumes and things for theme parks.
Right.
To, as far as sculpting goes,
Yeah.
I'm at the bottom of good.
Okay.
I'm not great.
Yeah.
I'm not bad. If I sculpt a duck, you're like, that's a duck. But you don't expect it to wink and fly away.
Right.
Some people's sculptures, you expect that duck to wink and fly away.
Right.
I'm not that good yet. I'm the bottom of good.
Right. It's just good enough.
I'm good. I'm normally good enough.
Yeah.
And then, so to get to that great level,
Yeah.
I've got to sculpt more. I've got to focus more. I've got to learn more and work more and tweak. And that would happen down that Stiltbeast Studios path.
Right.
And then now because of the way the world is, there's this media path.
Right.
Well, if I want to make a YouTube video every week,
Yeah.
that means I'm going to keep up with my Patreon. I'm going to keep up with the YouTube videos. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep up with all the groups on Facebook that I
Hmm.
work with. I'm going to make sure my Instagram channel is where it needs to be. I'm going to get 30 more subscribers and have the
Right.
9,000 that TikTok wants to start paying yet.
Right. Yeah.
You
And
know, I'm going to move things onto the TikTok shop.
mhm,
But that's a path by itself.
it is. And I can tell you that from just me starting this thing, like sometimes it's really, really hard to crank out like certain stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like,
I did 5 years of a video every single week for YouTube Wednesday.
yeah, that's crazy.
And then I did 2 more years recently
Yeah.
where like in 2020, it's like people need something.
Right.
So I started YouTube Wednesday back up and did a year,
Right.
didn't miss. And then last year we did all year, didn't miss a week.
Right. Right.
And but that's a job.
It's hard. Yeah.
And those three paths I'm kind of on and I'm juggling and I'm not doing any one of them as good as I should be doing
Right.
because I'm
Yeah.
doing them all still. One of the reasons that I bought Dark Hour was staff.
Yeah.
Now I have help doing the things that I've been doing.
Right. So you can do all the things.
Yeah, well, almost. It still
Almost.
takes
Yeah.
they still take time. And I'm still at that crossroads and making that choice. And if you're seeing less of me on YouTube or you're seeing less of me doing those outside things, I'm on the haunted attraction, the board for the
Yeah.
association. I'm missing meetings, and I shouldn't be
Yeah.
missing meetings, but there's other things that just have me so busy.
Right.
And that's my crisis right now is what path am I on? And how far ahead can I get on this path without ignoring these other two?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm still
Yeah.
actively making that choice. I have no idea.
Yeah, because I can say just because this is like my hobby, and I can say between doing this podcast and my day job and my personal life, sometimes it's hard. I've missed a few weeks just because busy doing other things, and it's like, well, maybe I had to reschedule because someone had something come up, or I had a work thing come up, or whatever. So I get about like trying to crank out content can be it's a job. It's I love doing it and I love talking to people, but it's also sometimes it's a chore. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Oh yeah.
to sit there and like I taught myself how to edit, and so sometimes that's a chore to sit there and make sure your video looks okay and all that. And
Oh,
I get
absolutely.
it.
It's
Yeah,
that end of it is a lot to keep up and juggle.
yeah,
And those rules kind of change a little bit all the time. So if I want to stay on top of TikTok and Instagram and YouTube,
yeah.
you have to keep studying too
Right.
because the audience is evolving and they're getting trained by other new apps that,
Don't even know about
that
yet.
we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they haven't filtered to this old white dude,
Right.
I haven't
Yeah.
gotten there yet. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. But haunting is a part of every single bit of it.
Right. Yeah.
There's no path that I'm on. There's nothing that I do that isn't somehow related to the industry.
Right. It's always haunt.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And one thing that actually hinders still my sculpting a little bit is I'm really hung up that there's a person inside of that mask.
Yeah.
And they want to hear and they want to see and they want to breathe.
Right.
There are beautiful masks
Right.
that you cannot see out of or
It's
hear
facts.
out of
Yeah.
or breathe out of.
It's facts. Yeah.
And just accommodating for that person inside,
It'd be hard.
it's there's you lose a
Yeah.
little bit in that.
Have you ventured into like silicone masks at all?
Yeah, so when silicone masks first came out,
Uh-huh.
I thought that they were ridiculously priced. And the first
Yeah.
ones were like $1,200 a piece.
Right. Yeah. Some of them still are.
Yeah, and some still
Yeah.
are. But I thought, well, there's got to be a way to get the price down on these to $150, $200.
Right.
So I spent about $2,500 making my first silicone mask.
Right.
If you make a puddle of latex on the table because you
Yeah.
spilled some,
It's not a big deal.
that is a 42, 48 cent puddle.
Yeah.
That same puddle of silicone is like $19.
Yeah. And
So
that's why latex or silicone's so expensive.
it's, yes, well, there's the knowledge of how to do it
Yeah.
is hard
Yeah.
because you have to have a core inside your mold. And then there is the just the material itself. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And then are you going to buy $300 worth of silicone and then pour it into a mold that may or may not leak?
Yeah. It's rough.
And often the answer is no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because instead of risking the $300 worth of silicone, you're going to go for a sure thing and buy a $600 silicone mask from someone who's already made it.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
But I got masks and I was able to sell some for 200, $300 or so.
Uh-huh.
And that's about where I think the bottom of the market was then at that time.
Uh-huh.
And now I think you're looking at about $400.
Right.
But even then, they're trying to sell masks. They're not worried about making money.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to make money, they've got to be in that $600, $700, $800
Yeah. Anything above that. Because there's even I've seen masks for like 15, $2,000, and you're like, how's anyone buying this stuff? It's cool, but it's like, how does the average person justify? You know what I'm saying?
As a haunt owner, how
Yeah.
do I spend even $500 on a mask
Right.
and then hand it to an actor that I don't know very well?
Right.
That's not happening.
Yeah. I for sure. I mean, I have a silicone mask that I bought, and I don't trust it with
Because they want
anyone.
to take a drink, so they pull the chin down
Yeah.
to get their drink
Yeah.
up to their mouth.
Yeah. I don't trust my mask with anyone. So I get it. They're cool. They're so
Did you buy your
expensive.
own, or did your haunt buy it?
No,
for you?
I bought my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saved up for a while.
We have a couple actors here who
Yeah.
will wear a mask, and I don't like putting people in the show. I'd rather have monsters in the show.
Right.
I'd rather have someone be a goblin rather than an insane asylum inmate.
Right.
I like monsters. I think my show is dark fantasy.
Right.
That's what I want it to be.
Okay. Yeah.
I want it to feel like you're going through like one of the bad areas of the Hellboy world,
Okay.
or the old movie Legend with Tom Cruise when they're down in hell. And
Okay.
to me, there's
Yeah.
all just monsters.
Okay.
That's what I love. I
Yeah.
like monsters.
I mean, I couldn't tell by this office.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you're into old school monster movies at all.
I'm a monster guy.
Yeah.
And that's actually what brought me to haunting. It wasn't a love of Halloween.
Yeah.
It was, I get to be a monster. Okay, I'm in.
Right.
For many years, I would carry around a duffel bag with a Wolfman costume in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go up to a haunted house and I'd say, I'm only going to play the Wolfman. I'm not going to play anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I have my own costume and you have to pay me.
Yeah.
That was from the age of like 12 to 15.
Right.
And I got to play the Wolfman quite a bit.
That's awesome.
That's what I wanted to do.
That's amazing.
And but that experience now looking back, if someone, and thank goodness it was the Wolfman, and I didn't get hung up on an IP, because the Wolfman's kind of generic.
Right. Yeah.
If I have, because now people come to the haunt and they're like, well, I'm only going to play Pennywise. I have a great Pennywise costume and I want to play Pennywise.
Yeah.
Okay, you enjoy playing Pennywise wherever you do it. It won't be in my show
Right.
because I don't own Pennywise.
Yeah.
That's not my character.
Yeah.
Or Michael Myers, or
Whatever.
there's
Terrifier.
a lot of folks who show up and they're like, I'd like to play this. Why don't you design a character that has those attributes?
Right.
Let's design something that feels the same
Yeah.
but isn't.
Right. That makes sense to me.
That's what our whole show is frickin' tomorrow.
Yeah.
So this is can I say what day it is?
Yeah.
I think
for
it's the 9th, right?
Yeah. I think it's the 9th.
It's
yeah.
the 9th, February 9th, and tomorrow's the 10th, Saturday. Dead by Dark Hour opens up.
Yeah.
And you'll be here for that, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna be here.
Okay.
If you allow me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'd love to be behind the scenes and check it out.
So I'm going to send you through the show once or twice too.
Okay. Cool.
Because this show is really fun. It's all
Yeah.
like 80s slasher based. So we have a character
cool.
called Shriek.
Okay.
We sculpted the mask. It looks a lot like the Scream character, but it's Shriek. It's not Scream.
Yeah.
And there's a different backstory for that character that we made up. And
Right.
on the Dark Hour website, you can look at the backstories for the
Yeah.
Dead by Dark Hour characters. And we have Jacob, big guy in a metal mask. That's
Okay.
Jacob.
Okay.
It's definitely not Jason. No,
Definitely
not
not.
at all.
No, that's Jacob for sure. It's like the great value version of Jason.
Well, like each one, like I had a lot of fun coming up with the backstories for him.
Right. Shit. Sorry.
He was an Amish guy who was down here buying cattle,
Right.
and a bull kicked him in the face. So he has to wear the metal mask in order to hold his face together.
That's funny. Yeah.
And then he kind of went crazy, and yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, like everyone has its own like fun backstory.
That's cool.
Nothing to do with the backstories of the other killers. They just happen to look similar and hit a
Yeah.
similar profile. And it's just like that's really fun to play with.
Right.
Like we don't have Art the Clown, we have Bart the Mime.
Bart the Mime.
We have Bart the Mime. So it's but that's fun.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun. And when I was coming up in haunts, it's nice to have winks and nods to characters and things that
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
While I don't think a haunt should have Jason or Freddy or Leatherface in their show, nods to that I think are perfectly acceptable and a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, really, all of us kind of want to act like we're in a horror movie. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know anything about Dead by Dark Hour, the show?
Yeah. So Carrie, our friend Carrie,
Okay. Yeah.
she was explaining it to me. So I know a little bit, but there's a lot I'm going in blind because I think she didn't want to spoil it for me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you can die.
Yeah.
There's an interactive
with the
element
sticker,
where
right?
you can die.
Yeah.
The killers get to kill you,
Yes.
which is a lot of fun for both of us. But people take it serious.
Yeah.
There's both people who are like, man, I'm thrilled I didn't get killed at all.
Yeah.
There's others who are like, oh, I'm missing one. I need to go get that guy to kill me. And
Right.
then they'll go back through to make sure they get killed by everyone.
That's hilarious. And it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, that's how, because I heard Carrie, like when she started Hellscream, I heard that she was from here. And I was like, all right, I got to talk to her. So, and then since then, I had her on the podcast. And since then, we became really good friends.
Yeah.
We hang out and have drinks and shit. So,
Yeah, she's awesome.
yeah, she's cool.
Her and I have the same birthday.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. So our birthday is both July 13th.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I look forward to seeing the show. And I appreciate you doing this. Where can people find you and all that?
So obviously darkhourhauntedhouse.com, stiltbeaststudios.com, Stiltbeast Studios, the YouTube channel. We're hovering right around that 140,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So that's good. Stiltbeast Studios on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a mask making group on Facebook also called Latex Mask Central 2 because the first one got shut down.
Darn.
Yeah. It's just it was nice to clean house actually.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm all over, and I just if you put Alan Hops in Google, you'll find me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I get a phone call every day from somewhere in the country of someone who my phone number is just out there, I guess. And
Yeah.
they're like, hey, can you help me with this? I'm like, absolutely, whatever.
That's amazing. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I appreciate the hospitality and all that.
Yeah, it's great to have you out.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you doing this too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope you get to talk to some of my other staff, and that way they can tell you what a load of crap I am.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.